The friend zone isn't a place. It's a verdict. A judgment passed on your character, your strength, your very essence as a man, long before you ever thought the trial had begun. You think she rejected you? That's the lie you tell yourself to soften the blow. She didn't reject you. She disqualified you. She looked at the sum of your actions, your words, your desperate need for her approval, and she found you lacking. She found you predictable. She found you safe. And in the brutal, unspoken language of raw attraction, safe is a death sentence. She didn't leave you. She dismantled you piece by piece with a smile. It happened in that coffee shop, didn't it? You remember. The air was filled with the smell of burnt coffee and cheap pastries. A perfect metaphor for the hope you were serving her. You rehearsed it in your head 100 times. You would be genuine. You would be vulnerable. You would lay your cards on the table because that's what all the advice columns told you to do. Honesty is the best policy, they chirped. So you were honest. You leaned in, your heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird, and you told her how you felt. You detailed her laugh, the way her eyes lit up, the way her presence made your mundane world feel significant. You presented your feelings to her like a fragile gift, a grand romantic gesture. And what did you get in return? That look. Not disgust, not anger. Something far worse. Pity. A soft, condescending smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her body language shifted instantly. The open, engaged posture she held just moments before, gone. It was replaced by a subtle lean away, a slight crossing of the arms, a shield going up that you were too blinded by your own emotional nakedness. Executioner's final, gentle whisper. "Ah, you're so sweet. You're such an amazing friend." And there it was, the verdict, delivered not with a gavel, but with a pat on your arm. In that single moment, you weren't just denied. You were categorized. You were placed in a box labeled harmless, sealed shut, and stored away on a shelf where she keeps things that provide comfort, but never excitement. You walked out of that coffee shop a smaller man than when you walked in, your grand gesture reduced to an awkward, cringe-worthy memory. You were playing checkers, meticulously planning your every move, while she was playing a three-dimensional game of psychological warfare you didn't even know existed. You keep asking yourself why. Why does the guy who treats her with indifference, the one who cancels plans, the one who barely seems to notice her, why does he get the breathless late-night texts while your thoughtful, well-crafted messages are left on read? You bring logic to a chemical reaction. You bring reason to an instinctual dance. You operate under the flawed premise that attraction can be negotiated. The ancient strategist Sun Tzu wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." You have been fighting a war of attrition against her heart, trying to win by overwhelming her with your goodness, your availability, your logic. But you've failed to understand the battlefield. Attraction isn't won. It is commanded. It is a silent broadcast of your own internal state, your own unshakable core. She isn't listening to your words. She's reading your frequency. And your frequency has been screaming neediness, broadcasting a desperate plea for validation that repels the very thing you crave. What if every single one of her seemingly random actions, the sarcastic joke at your expense, the sudden disinterest in a conversation you were leading, the last-minute cancellation of a date she seemed excited about, what if none of it was random at all? What if it was all a test? A subconscious, instinctual probe designed to check the strength of your frame, to see if you would crumble, get angry, or plead. What if every rejection you've ever faced wasn't a door slamming in your face, but a hidden challenge you were too clueless to see? A silent invitation to demonstrate your power that you have failed, again and again and again. If that feeling of being fundamentally tested and consistently failing resonates deep in your bones, then you have found your war room. This is not a place for comfort. It is a place for truth. Subscribe to this channel, activate all notifications, and press the like button as a declaration that you are done being a pawn in a game you were never taught to play. Now, in the comments below, I want you to report for duty. Tell me what city you're fighting from, and tell me about the one moment, the one test that finally broke your illusion of the nice guy. Share the story. It is time to turn that scar into a weapon. Let's begin the autopsy. You're here because the verdict has been delivered, and you were found wanting. You stand in the ruins of what you tried to build, wondering how the foundations crumbled without a sound. You think it was a sudden earthquake, a single moment of rejection that brought it all down. You are wrong. Your defeat was not an event, it was a process. A slow, silent, creeping infection of the will that you not only allowed, but actively cultivated. You weren't defeated in a glorious battle. You were dismantled in a series of quiet, pathetic surrenders that you told yourself were acts of kindness. Today, we conduct the strategic analysis of your fall. There will be no comfort here. There is only the cold, sterile light of the operating theater, where we will dissect every mistake, every concession, every moment you chose to be a lamb when you should have been a lion. The first phase of your collapse, the initial breach in your defenses, was emotional concession. It didn't feel like a surrender. It felt reasonable. It felt nice. It was that Friday night you had plans with your friends, plans you were looking forward to, an anchor in your own life. Then she called, an hour before you were supposed to leave. "I'm having a bad day," she sighed, her voice a carefully calibrated instrument of passive control. "Can you come over?" The test had been issued. It was a simple probe to measure the perimeter of your world. Does it revolve around your own axis, or can it be pulled into her orbit at a moment's notice? You felt the conflict, a flicker of your own desire versus the powerful pull of her need. And what did you do? You told yourself the right thing to do was to be there for her. You called your friends, fed them a weak excuse, and you went to her. In that moment, you didn't just cancel your plans. You communicated a devastating truth. Her emotional state is more important than your commitments. Your world stops when hers is upset. You taught her that she holds the remote control to your life. She tested. You yielded. She won. This happens in 1,000 small ways. It's when she makes a sarcastic comment that stings, a joke at your expense in front of others, and you laugh along, pretending it didn't bother you. You didn't want to make things awkward. What you actually did was grant her a license to disrespect you. You signaled that your dignity is negotiable. It's when you disagree on something fundamental, a movie, a political view, a life goal, and you soften your stance, you backpedal, you say, "Yeah, I can see your point," not because you do, but because the harmony of her approval is more valuable to you than the integrity of your own mind. Every time you said it's okay when it wasn't okay, you were carving another piece out of your own authority. When she was an hour late, and you greeted her with a smile instead of a calm, firm statement that your time is valuable. When she checked her phone while you were telling her something important, and you just talked faster, hoping to regain her attention. You weren't being patient. You were being a performer auditioning for an audience of one who had already started walking out of the theater. Each concession was a brick you handed her to build the walls of your prison. You thought you were building a bridge of connection, but you were paving a road to your own irrelevance. From concession, the sickness metastasizes into its second stage, the quest for validation. This is where you cease to be a man living his own life and become a supplicant living for her reactions. Your internal compass is shattered, and you begin navigating exclusively by the light of her approval. You post a photo on social media. Who are you posting it for? You tell yourself it's for your friends, for your followers. It's a lie. You are posting it for her. You craft the caption, choose the filter, and post it at the exact time you think she'll be online. Then the wait begins. The pathological cycle of checking your phone. Did she see it? Did she like it? The minutes stretch into an hour. Your anxiety grows. You see she's been active, she's liked someone else's post, but not yours. Your entire emotional state for the evening is now dictated by a tap on a screen that never came. You gave a single woman the power to validate or invalidate your existence with the flick of her thumb. This desperate hunt for validation infects every interaction. You stop talking about your actual interests and start talking about things you think will impress her. You feign an interest in her favorite band. You watch the show she recommended even though it bores you to tears. Also, you can have the right thing to say the next time you talk. You've stopped being a person and have become a carefully constructed resume, designed to meet her job requirements. Here is the brutal truth. A woman is not attracted to a resume. She is attracted to a man with his own passions, his own purpose, his own unshakable reality. By contorting yourself into what you believe she wants, you are demonstrating that you have no core. You are a weather vane, spinning frantically in the wind of her opinion. She asks you what you want to do. You say, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" You think you're being accommodating. She hears, "I have no direction. I have no desires of my own. Please lead me." And so she does. She leads you directly into the box labeled friend, because leaders are not attracted to followers. They are attracted to other leaders. The third stage is the complete loss of control. Your emotional well-being is now fully outsourced. Her mood is your weather. If she texts you good morning with a smiley face, the sun is shining, your day is full of promise. If her text is a single word with a period, a storm cloud settles over your entire existence. You are no longer the thermostat, setting the temperature of your own life. You are the thermometer, merely reflecting the temperature she sets. This is where her silence becomes her most powerful weapon. Her silence is dominance, not disinterest. When she takes hours to reply to your message, it is not because she is busy. Do not lie to yourself. People are never too busy for what they truly desire. That delay is a subconscious and sometimes conscious power play. It is a test of your emotional fortitude. She is waiting to see how you will react. Will you double text? Will you send a pathetic, "Everything okay?" Will you crumble with anxiety? Every time you let her silence disrupt your peace, you fail the test. A man with a mission, a man with a purpose, does not have the time or the mental bandwidth to obsess over a delayed text message. He sends his message and goes back to building his empire, whether that empire is a business, a body, or a skill. He understands that her response, or lack thereof, is simply data. It is not a reflection of his worth. But you? You have made her the center of your universe, so when she goes dark, your entire world goes dark with it. You've become a satellite locked in her gravitational pull, incapable of generating your own light. You check her social media to see if she's active. You see that she is. She's online, but she's not talking to you. The psychological torture is immense, and it is entirely self-inflicted. You handed her the reins of your emotional state, and now you are being dragged behind the chariot of her whims. This is not romance. This is psychological servitude. This servitude leads directly to the fourth, and perhaps most degrading stage, emotional dependency. You are now an addict, and she is your drug. Your self-worth is so intertwined with her presence that the thought of her absence feels like a death. This is the stage of complete capitulation. Your own principles, your boundaries, your non-negotiables, they all go out the window, sacrificed at the altar of her continued presence. She disrespects you, and you make excuses for her. She cancels a major date last minute with a flimsy excuse, and you say, "No problem, I understand," when what you feel is a burning rage of disrespect. You have become terrified of conflict, because conflict carries the risk of her departure, and you cannot bear the thought of withdrawal. This is the phase where you start apologizing for things that are not your fault. She gets angry for a perceived slight, a misunderstanding, and instead of holding your ground and calmly defending your position, you rush to smooth things over. You say, "I'm sorry." Those two words can be the most powerful statement of accountability a man can make, or they can be the most pathetic sound of surrender. When you apologize for something you did not do, you are not keeping the peace. You are selling your soul for a moment of quiet. When you apologized, you signed your surrender. You communicated to her on the deepest, most primal level that her version of reality is more valid than your own. You are telling her, "You are the arbiter of truth in this interaction. My perceptions are secondary to your feelings." At that moment, the dynamic is permanently set. You are not her partner. You are her subject. And a queen has no sexual desire for her subjects. Only a mild, detached affection, and perhaps a little pity. Finally, after all these surrenders, comes the inevitable, final, desperate act of a defeated man, breaking the silence. This is the infamous "we need to talk" moment. After weeks or months of swallowing your own needs, of contorting your personality, of living in a state of constant low-grade anxiety. You can't take it anymore. The pressure builds, and you decide you must be honest and share your feelings. Sit her down, your heart pounding, and you unleash the flood. You tell her how much she means to you. You detail every little thing you've done for her, hoping she'll see the depth of your investment. You talk about your confusion, your hurt, your hope for something more. You lay your entire hand of cards on the table, face up, a trembling, naked display of need. You think this is a moment of courageous vulnerability. It is strategic suicide. You are not a commander making a bold declaration. You are a beggar pleading for scraps from the table. From her perspective, this emotional deluge is deeply unsettling and deeply unattractive. You are essentially admitting, my entire emotional well-being depends on you. I have no other sources of happiness. You are my only hope. Please, fix this for me. You have just handed her the full weight of your emotional responsibility. It is a burden no woman wants to carry for a man she is not already deeply in love with and committed to. It confirms every subconscious doubt she ever had about you. It proves you are not a rock, an oak tree she can shelter under. You are a vine, clinging to her, threatening to pull her down with your own weight. Her response is predictable, the pity, the gentle letdown. You're such a great guy, but she isn't rejecting you in that moment. She is merely confirming a decision that was made long ago. A decision that was cemented with every concession, every plea for validation, every pathetic surrender you made along the way. Tested you, and you failed. Final confession was not a last-ditch effort to win. It was the formal signing of the treaty of your unconditional surrender. Now, you might be listening to this, and a part of you, the part that has been conditioned by a weak and feminized culture, is screaming in protest. But being nice is a good thing. Relationships are about compromise. I'm just being honest and vulnerable. Let's dismantle these lies you tell yourself to sleep at night. You are not being nice. You are being compliant. Niceness without a spine is not a virtue. It's a tactic of the weak to avoid conflict. A truly good man has boundaries of steel. He is kind, yes, but his kindness is a choice, a gift from a position of strength, not a desperate strategy to be liked. You are not compromising. You are capitulating. Compromise happens between two sovereign powers who both concede a little to reach a mutually beneficial agreement. What you are doing is unilateral disarmament. You are giving up territory, resources, and power in the vain hope that your opponent will suddenly have a change of heart and be nice to you. That is not how human nature works. That is not how attraction works. And the biggest lie, I'm being vulnerable. Vulnerability is a tool of the powerful. When a king shows his vulnerability, it is a sign of immense confidence. He is secure enough in his power that he can afford to show a crack in the armor. When a peasant shows his vulnerability, it is just weakness. It is a plea. Before you can use vulnerability, you must first build an unshakable foundation of strength, purpose, and self-reliance. To be vulnerable without that foundation is to simply bleed out in front of someone who is not a surgeon. You are showing her your wounds not to connect, but to beg her to heal you. No woman wants to be your therapist. She wants a man who has already done the work, who has healed his own wounds, and who can stand on his own 2 feet. Perhaps you're thinking, my situation is different. She's not like that. She doesn't play these games. This is the ultimate delusion. You are projecting a fantasy onto her to avoid the harsh reality of the world. These are not conscious, manipulative games. This is the deeply ingrained, evolutionary software of female attraction. It is a biological imperative. For millennia, a woman's survival, and the survival of her offspring, depended on her ability to select the strongest, most competent, most emotionally stable man. Her subconscious is running a constant diagnostic on you. The tests, the shit tests, are her way of checking your programming. Is he easily flustered? Does he have a backbone? Can he handle pressure? Does he have his own purpose? Or will he collapse into my reality? It is not malicious. It is a mechanism for quality control. To deny that this mechanism exists is like denying gravity. You can believe you can fly all you want, but the moment you step off the roof, reality will deliver its verdict. This cold, brutal diagnosis of your fall from power is making your stomach churn. If it feels like an attack, it is because it is the truth you have been desperately avoiding. It's easier to blame her, to call her confusing, to blame the world for being unfair. But the truth is, the failure was internal. The authority was yours to lose. You are ready to stop making excuses and start rebuilding your foundation from the bedrock of reality. Training begins now. Subscribe to this channel, press the like button as a commitment to your own reconstruction, and activate all notifications so you do not miss a single command in the campaign to reclaim your power. Now, I want you to face your first failure head-on. In the comments below, I want a full tactical report. What was the first concession you made? The first time you said it's okay when it wasn't? The first time you apologized when you weren't wrong? Detail the moment you now realize was the first crack in the dam. Acknowledge it. Own it. Because you cannot rebuild on a foundation you refuse to examine. The fall was not visible. It happened in the silence of your hesitation. It happened in the quiet betrayal of your own instincts. It happened in every yes that was born of fear instead of conviction. You looked for an external enemy, a reason for your failure outside of yourself. But the call was coming from inside the house the entire time. You were the architect of your own demise. This is a terrifying realization, but it is also the source of all your power. Because the man who built the prison is the only one who holds the key to his own cell. No one is coming to save you. Your rescue is not her responsibility. It is yours, and yours alone. The diagnosis is complete. The sickness has been named. Now, the real work begins. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. Let that sink into your bones. The man who walked into that coffee shop, the man who typed those desperate texts, the man who waited for a reply that defined his day. That man is dead. You will not hold a funeral. You will treat his memory as a strategic liability, a cautionary tale of a failed campaign. Your reconstruction is not an emotional journey of healing. It is the cold, tactical demolition of a failed state and the raising of a fortress in its place. Your feelings are irrelevant. Your hope is a traitor. Your mission is the only thing that matters now. The first command is absolute. Cut the excess. This is not a negotiation. It is a scorched earth policy enacted against your own weakness. You will reinstall scarcity into your life, not as a manipulative trick, but as a fundamental reality. You are a resource. Your time, your attention, your emotional energy, these are the most valuable assets you possess. And you have been giving them away for free, distributing them like cheap pamphlets to an audience that never paid for a ticket. The flow of assets stops now. You will sever all contact. This is not a dramatic announcement. There will be no "I need some space" text. That is the plea of a weak man asking for permission to leave. You do not ask for permission. You act. Your disappearance will be total, and without warning. You will delete her number, not to be theatrical, but to remove the temptation of a weak moment from your own command center. You will mute her social media profiles, not out of anger, but to cleanse your intelligence feed of useless, emotionally compromising data. You are a general redeploying his troops from a lost battle to prepare for a new war. You do not send a letter to the enemy explaining your withdrawal. You simply vanish from the field, leaving them to stare at an empty hill, confused and suddenly aware of their own vulnerability. This is the first step to becoming an absence that has weight, not a presence that begs. The second command: install silence. Your silence is not passive. It is a weapon. In the past, your every action was a reaction to her. You replied instantly. She was distant. You moved closer. She pulled away. You chased. You were a puppet, and she held the strings, not out of malice, but because you handed them to her. Falling silence, you cut the strings. She may eventually send a probe, a casual "Hey, how are you?" text. This is a test. It is a ping to see if the old operating system is still running. In the past, this message would have sent a surge of adrenaline through you. Hope, anxiety. You would have drafted a dozen replies. The old you is dead. The new you sees this message for what it is, a data point, and it requires no response. Your non-response is the response. It is a statement of immense power. It communicates that your world no longer revolves around her notifications. It says, "My attention is elsewhere, on things of greater importance." It forces a question into her mind for the first time. Why isn't he responding? That question is the beginning of her frame cracking. The power to initiate, the power to dictate the terms of communication, has shifted. You have seized control of the timeline. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. Silence is the vacuum into which her thoughts and doubts will rush. Let her sit with it. Your peace is no longer contingent on her communication. Your power is built in the quiet of her unanswered message. While the silence works on the external front, your internal reconstruction begins. This is not a time for waiting. It is a time for forging. You will now apply a relentless, unflinching focus on building your own hierarchy. This is the third command. Engineer your ascent. Your life is now a project of radical self-improvement, divided into critical theaters of operation. First, the physical. Your body is not you, but it is your vessel, your avatar in the physical world. You will treat it like a weapon system. You will go to the gym not to get her attention, but to forge discipline in the crucible of pain. Every rep, every drop of sweat, is an act of rebellion against the weakness that defined you. You are not building a body for her. You are building armor for yourself. Second, the financial. You will attack your purpose with the ferocity of a starving wolf. Your career, your business, your mission. This becomes your obsession. A man without a mission is a ship without a rudder, easily tossed about by the emotional storms of others. Your mission is your anchor. It is your true north. Money is not the goal, but a consequence. It is a tool, a measure of your competence and your ability to impose your will upon the world. Third, the social. You will cultivate a brotherhood, a network of strong, ambitious men. Your social validation will no longer be sought from a single female source. It will be earned in the arena of mutual respect among men who are also on their own ascent. You will become a man of value within your tribe. This period of reconstruction is a monastic devotion to your own value. You are a man building a kingdom. You do not stop construction to see if a passerby is admiring your walls. You just keep building. And as you build, something fundamental shifts. The desperate need for her validation evaporates. It is replaced by a cold, hard sense of your own worth, forged in effort and accomplishment. Your internal reality becomes so strong, so compelling, that the external world, including her opinion of you, begins to feel distant and insignificant. You have stopped being the thermometer, reflecting her temperature, and have become the thermostat, setting your own. If, after a significant period of this reconstruction, she re-enters your orbit, the protocol for engagement is the fourth command. Interact with controlled indifference. Your interaction must be minimal and unpredictable. If you see her in public, you are not hostile, but you are not overly warm. Confident nod. A brief, "Hope you're well." And you keep moving. You are a man with a destination. You are pleasant, but you are gone. If she communicates and a response is strategically necessary, it is brief, logical, and it does not seek to extend the conversation. You answer her question, and that is all. You use statements, not questions. You do not ask how she is. You are the one who ends the interaction, always. You are demonstrating, through action, that she is a minor character in your epic, not the co-star. This entire process is not a strategy to get her back. That is the thinking of the old you. This is a strategy to build a man who she is no longer qualified to have. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared, not in a way that causes terror, but in a way that inspires a profound, instinctual respect for his power and his boundaries. You are not rebuilding to win her. You are rebuilding to make the entire game irrelevant. This is your new reality, a world of action, discipline, and unflinching self-interest. The path of weakness is comfortable and leads to contempt. The path of power is arduous and leads to dominion. There is no other choice. If you are ready to demolish the ruins of your past and begin construction on your fortress, then commit to the protocol. Subscribe to this channel, activate all notifications so you never miss a directive, and press the like button as a public declaration that the weak man is gone forever. This channel is your new drill sergeant. Now, report for duty. In the comments below, I want you to declare your primary objective. Of the 3 theaters of operation, physical, financial, or social, which one will you declare total war on starting today? What is the one specific, measurable goal you will achieve in that theater in the next 90 days? Declare it. Make it a public contract with yourself and with the men fighting alongside you. Your campaign for Dominion begins with that single public declaration. Make it now. And so, the silence deepens. It's no longer a tactic. It has become your natural state of being. The void you created was not for her. It was for you. It was the space required to demolish the old structure and lay the foundation for the new. Months pass. Seasons may change. You wouldn't know. Your attention is fixed on the horizon of your own making, not the calendar. Then, one evening, it happens. A notification lights up your screen. A name you have, ghost from a past life. It's her. The architect of the verdict that set you on this path. The message is simple, a carefully crafted probe designed to appear casual. Hey, saw something that reminded me of you and was just thinking of you. Hope you're doing well. The old you would have felt a jolt, a surge of adrenaline that was a toxic cocktail of hope and dread. Your heart would have hammered against your ribs. You would have seen this as an opening, a chance. That man is a fossil. The new you looks at the screen with the detached curiosity of a scientist observing a petri dish. You don't feel triumph. You don't feel anger. You feel nothing. It's just data. You parse the subcommunication. Thinking of you is a test of your availability. Hope you're doing well is a request for an update, a plea for you to re-engage and report on your status. She is knocking on the door of a house that no longer exists, and you are under no obligation to answer. Put the phone down, not with force, but with the gentle finality of placing a book back on a shelf, and you return to your work. The message sits there, unread, for hours, then days. Your silence is no longer an answer. It is a statement that you are no longer listening for the question. A week later, a second probe. This one is more direct. Are you getting my messages? Just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Tone has shifted. The casual disinterest is gone, replaced by a flicker of concern that is really a flicker of control slipping away. She is used to a world where her communication elicits an immediate response from you. Your silence has created a system error in her reality. The old you would have rushed to reassure her, to apologize for the delay, to explain yourself. You would have validated her concern. You see it for what it is, an escalation. An attempt to force a response by leveraging social obligation. You decide to engage, but on your terms, with your protocol. You wait another full day. Then you reply. A single sentence. Everything's good. Busy on my end. There is no question. There is no apology. There is no opening for a follow-up. It is a statement of fact. It is a closed door. It is polite, but it is brutal in its finality. The subcommunication is devastatingly clear. My life, my focus, and my energy are consumed by my mission. You are not part of that mission. Your emotional state regarding my silence is not my concern. You have not been mean. You have not been cruel. You have been something far more powerful, indifferent. You have communicated that she's been demoted from a priority to an irrelevance. The game board you both stood on in that coffee shop, where she was the queen and you were a pawn hoping to be promoted, is gone. You didn't just flip the board over. You burned the board, walked away from the ashes, and started playing a completely different game, in a different league, for a different prize. A prize she can't even comprehend. This is the nature of true power. It is not about getting her back. The desire to get her back is the final dying echo of the weak man who defined his worth by her approval. To want her back is to admit she still holds the prize. The ultimate victory is not her return. It is your complete and total indifference to her absence. It is the moment you realize that the validation you once craved from her is a pale, pathetic imitation of the respect you now command from yourself. You didn't rebuild yourself to impress her. You rebuilt yourself because the man you were was unworthy of the man you were destined to become. Her potential return was never the goal. It was simply an anticipated and ultimately insignificant consequence of your ascent. Let this be your manifesto. Respect is not requested. It is commanded by the gravity of your own purpose. Attraction is not negotiated. It is the unintentional byproduct of a man obsessed with his mission. Your value is not determined by her opinion. It is forged in the fire of your discipline, in the sweat of your effort, in the silent, solitary hours you spend building your empire while others are begging for attention. You must understand this. You are not ignoring her to punish her. Revenge is an emotional transaction, and you no longer trade in that currency. You are ignoring her because your attention, the most valuable resource you own, is fully invested in assets that provide a return. Your body, your bank account, your brotherhood, your soul. She has become, through no malice of her own, a poor investment. Stop waiting for an apology. Stop hoping she'll realize what she's lost. Her realization is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is your realization. The moment the switch flips in your mind and you see her not as a prize to be won, but as an echo from a past you no longer inhabit, you do not hate her. You do not wish her ill. To feel anything at all would be to grant her continued relevance. You simply are. A force of nature, moving in one direction, and she is a bystander on the side of the road, watching you disappear into the distance. The power was never in making her want you. The power was in building a life that you would not be willing to compromise. You are finally ready to stop playing their game and start building your own kingdom, one brick at a time. Then your work begins now. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications, because our doctrine is not for the casual observer. It is for the dedicated soldier. Press the like button as a final salute to the weak man you are leaving behind in the dust. Now, for your final command. In the comments below, I want you to answer one question, and I want you to be brutally honest. Now that the war is over, and you stand victorious in your own silence, what will you do with all the power you just took back? The day she starts to wonder who you became is the day it no longer matters.